Hello, game changers and trailblazers. Barry William Medvedev, your host of the Comeback Game podcast, back with another episode. And today we speak with Gary Hoy from prior to prospecting.com. Gary's got an interesting story around how he helps typically marketers jump in the pool but not swim. However, the interview takes an interesting turn and we start to speak about fear and what holds most people back from doing things differently. If you don't change things, things don't change. And doing what you've done will get you what you've got. So in life, in business particularly, we always have to be doing things differently in order for our business to keep striving and growing. But that doesn't mean attracting to or focusing on the shiny thing syndrome. It's more around pushing your own personal barriers. So on this episode, if you're someone right now who feels that you could create a bit more of a healthy relationship with fear, with failure, or you feel like you may be stuck or stagnating and wanting to find how you can move yourself and your business to the next level, I absolutely recommend that you must listen to this all the way through to the end and get Gary's interesting insights along with my own around how our parents, through loving us, have actually conditioned us for things like immediate gratification and to have an unhealthy relationship with pain and fear and being uncomfortable. No disrespect to any parents out there. I've also done this with my own kids. But either way, check out this episode with Gary. Love to hear your thoughts and always open to any feedback that you may have or other guests' insights that you'd like to share as well. Let's head over to this interview now. Hey guys, got Gary Hoy on the call today, all the way from Hoy and Associates. Mate, where are you calling in from today?
Just outside of Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo, New York. Fantastic. And I'm calling in from Canggu in Bali, Indonesia. Mate, so those of the viewers and listeners who don't know you, want to give a little bit of a brief background of who you are and specifically what it is that you do?
Sure. I actually kind of had an odd start to a business consulting career. I was a special ed teacher for about 12 years, and I decided to try to make a little bit more money, and I got to work at 3 o'clock, so I had a chunk of day to potentially make a little bit more money. So I started a company and suddenly realized I had this horrific fear of talking to people. And I put myself through a little program over a period of maybe 3 or 4 months. And I got rid of my fear of calling people and talking to people and, sharing my business opportunity or whatever you're marketing. And I just had this horrible fear, and I just developed this system, wrote a book. And the book took off. I left my job and just got into the consulting business, really helping people not so much develop their product and, their marketing plan and things like that, but literally just to reach out and actually talk to people. I tell everybody I teach people to jump in the pool, not how to swim. There's this emotional wall that's there for almost everybody that's trying to market a product or service. And I think certainly the internet has helped with some of that because, there's social media marketing, things like that. But this is the old fashioned, go to a networking event, you're standing in line at a store, you make a phone call. It's just the fear of making a presentation and approaching someone is a very dominant force that knocks a lot of people's dreams and ambitions down. And so I've come up with a program that recognizes that. And, first thing you got to do, you got to recognize you have the fear, and then there's a way to get rid of it relatively easily.
Yeah. What do you think? Where do you think the fear comes from?
I think it comes, oddly enough, some of it comes from schooling, because as we go through school, no matter what level of school you're at, when you get a paperback, usually what's marked is what's wrong, and we're told not to get things wrong on a test. Well, what I talk about is actually the inverse of that. I'm actually encouraging people to go out and make mistakes and do things wrong. It's how we learn to ride a bicycle. It's how we learn how to walk. We have an inherent ability to overcome obstacles and challenges if we're willing to do it wrong till we do it right. So the motto is kind of failure is an event, not a person. And I think as we grow up, we're judged on our grades and we're judged on performance. And if you look at some of the great athletes and the great successful business people in the world, they'll tell you the story was trial and error. Mm-hmm. So we're afraid of making mistakes. So we look for somebody to give us a script. Here's a set of words. These words work. Well, no, they don't. We speak with words, but we communicate with the way we feel about the words. So somebody who may believe in what they sell can use a set of words and give those words to somebody who doesn't believe, and they're going to fall flat on their face. They'll think they failed.
Yeah.
And that discouragement knocks people out of the game. So I'm almost anti-script. I can tell you, if we get into this, I'll tell you a couple of really quick little stories about that. And I've done this in front of large Fortune 100 companies, and their heads explode because it just breaks that mindset of script training. And really, but I think that fear of failure is ingrained in us as we get old, as we grow up. And you know this, to get where you've gotten, you had to make a lot of mistakes. You didn't learn it in a classroom.
No. It's funny. I've actually recorded a bunch of podcast episodes this morning, and there's a common theme that's come through with conversations that I've had, which really is the premise of the Comeback Game podcast in the first place, and that's that we have been conditioned from a young age that if we fall over or we hurt ourselves, we'll be nurtured, we'll be cared for, we'll be taken care of. Now, although there's not necessarily anything that's wrong with that, it almost leads us into a false sense of security when we come to being an adult. We fall flat on our face. We haven't necessarily got the same nurturing care there of our parents through our social circles we had growing up. And so for many of us, we've built an unhealthy relationship with failure. We've built an unhealthy relationship with pain. And,
that's a good way to put it. Yes.
Yeah. What is it that has pain or failure or challenge or adversity different pleasure and success and fulfillment, love and joy? Like they're all emotions, right? They're all experiences. Yet it's our perception that allows us to, in many ways choose that these ones are good and these ones are bad. Like good and bad don't exist. They're just two sides of the same coin. Right. And yet we've been conditioned to try to get rich collecting one-sided coins, trying to get rich by just focusing on, I just want to be happy all the time. I just want to be successful all the time. I just want to be achieving goals all the time. And it's not a reality. Like both exist. And if you're living life just trying to always experience one emotion or very few emotions of the full smorgasbord that's available, you're going to significantly suppress your emotions and your human experience and create a lot greater challenges in the long term. Right.
It's interesting because there's so many different ways to put the exact same point. That's what's so fascinating about it. It's said so many different ways. But, if you ask an individual, the common question is, how did you become so successful? And the question is the problem, because it's not how they became successful. They'll struggle with that, but they'll be able to tell you why, because the why drove them through the trial and error to get good at what they do. And it's so fascinating, but so how did you become successful? They want this blueprint that they can all follow, but the blueprint is both find something you enjoy and really believe in, and then don't do it wrong till you do it right. And the people with a big reason that know why they want to become successful will plow through the trial and errors. They don't even look at it. They look at it as kind of a benchmark. Okay, this didn't work, I'll try this. But if you go into it like success is a given and I got a set of words that will work, and it doesn't work, that failure knocks people. And that's why I say it's so horrible, because it really kills great ideas and great dreams, because it's all a myth. It's not supposed to work in the beginning. Right. So, there's a couple stories, and again, you tell me time-wise, but there's one, the main story that I'd like to share with you that I use. And it sounds very simple, but this is the one that really gets people's attention about this idea of failure and how important it is. Now, I don't know how familiar your audience would be with the movie The Mighty Ducks.
I remember The Mighty Ducks.
Okay, so it's a story about a youth hockey team.
Yeah.
They win a championship tournament against all odds. There's a lot of Hollywood involved in it, but the goalie, his name was Goldberg, had a horrible fear of the puck.
Yeah.
Now, so the coach didn't sit him down and seminar him as to why the puck wouldn't hurt. You have these pads on your legs, you have a chest protector, a metal cage on your face. Like, this puck's not going to hurt you. He didn't do that. He took him on the ice and he strapped his arms and legs to one of the nets. And then the whole team came out and was in front of Goldberg with each one of them had their own hockey puck. And Goldberg's like freaking out because he knows what's going to happen. Like, coach, you're not really going to do this to me. The coach blows his whistle, and every one of Goldberg's teammates start firing pucks at him.
Yeah.
They're hitting him in the face, the chest. He's like sweating. Coach, stop this. He was horrified for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he realized through the experience, the puck didn't hurt. So the coach goes over after that little period of time, takes the straps off. Nobody could score on the goalie, and that's part Hollywood. But the point is the talent. And that's what I would tell every single person listening to this. The talent and ability is already there. It's just hidden beneath this very thin layer of fear that will go away with repetition. Stop trying to avoid the repetition and embrace it. And it goes away relatively quickly. Now, it took me months, but I've seen people overcome it in 3 or 4 days through these simple little systems that I created. And I'm not telling you what to say or anything like that. I'm just saying, say something. Boom, 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 boom. Let the puck hit you. Your fear goes away. Then that potential customer is talking to your personality, not a script. Your passion comes out and you're having a real conversation because you're no longer jittery, you're no longer choppy, and you start to connect. There's a difference between communicating and connecting. Words will let you communicate. The connection comes from losing your fear and then engaging with that person, and they'll notice the difference in you right away because they're used to the script. They're used to that monotone salesman type of push. But boy, when you drop that fear, and here's the thing, when the fear goes away, and it'll go away, let's say in 5 or 6 days of consistent action, the most important thing in the marketing world, I believe, kicks in, and it's called the law of detachment, which simply says the less you need something, the easier it is to attain. Well, if you have fear of talking to new people or calling new people, the people you do talk to, you need them because that's the only way you can make money. And the customer knows it. They don't say it. They'll object. They'll say the best way to overcome an objection is to not need the business when you talk to that person because you don't talk to enough people. You need the people you do talk to, and they feel the pressure. Get over your fear. You don't need anybody. It's just a matter of time. You're talking to all types of potential leads, and then it's kind of like sorting rather than selling. Those people will reveal themselves. The fear will be, and then the business just gets to be so much fun because you've lost your fear of the hockey puck. It sounds simple, but that's the encouraging part of it. Everybody has the ability. It's just you get knocked down by that fear of rejection and fear of failure. Yeah.
It's interesting what you shared to kind of come back to this as well. It's conditioning, right? Like, you know, it's conditioning being to be able to kind of get back up and lean into those discomfortable positions. I think often, you know, like fear I see as an acronym of false evidence appearing real. We did an exercise many years ago with our clients at one of our events where we got them all to hold an arrow from a bow and arrow. So an arrow with a pointy end into the soft flesh of their neck, right? Just below their Adam's apple. And someone else on the other side holding the end of it. And we asked them to write like a fear or limiting belief on the arrow. And then they had to walk into it. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of fear or hesitation around the fact that they have this pointy end of an arrow into the soft flesh of their neck. And the interesting thing is that, you know, anyone that walked straight into the arrow with complete certainty and confidence, they broke through. There was no issues. Anyone who hesitated and tried to walk into it slowly walked away with a little bruise and a bit of pain. And you know, what we were demonstrating or what we were showing people is that it's our perception of the situation that causes us the pain and the angst, not the situation itself. You know, I've been doing a lot of sauna and cold plunge pools lately. to kind of, it just helps with all fantastic, health related challenges, issues, circulation, so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And if you procrastinate jumping into the cold plunge pool and kind of getting there slowly, it's a lot worse than if you just jump all in, right? Like you said before, you help people to jump in the pool, but you don't teach them how to swim. Is that once you're in there, it's like you're in there, you're committed. You then just have to deal with whatever you deal with. But it's not until you're in there that you know what you have to deal with. It's a perception of what you think you have to deal with, which creates us the pain.
Right. That's fascinating. That's really interesting. It is a perception thing, and I think what's interesting is trying to teach that, maybe you were raised in an environment where you were brought up that way. And I think this is why great athletes often have a hard time coaching, because they're basically just saying, just go do it. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, they don't understand the struggle in some ways. And I meet all kinds of people that are just, handshaking, and they have no background in sales. So their perception is they're not qualified for this. Somebody starts a business from home, they're not qualified for this. And that is it's just not true. It's a perception. But as long as you believe in that business and that what it is you're going to sell, you can make it work. But it is perception that often keeps people, and that's the frustrating part. I'm sure you meet these people with all this great potential, and they have this perception that they can't succeed, which is why it's such a great thing you're doing, because you're talking about success, and it's there for everybody. It's not a specific industry. It's success doesn't have to be money. It's just being good at what, and thriving and helping other people. I always tell people, the money is a byproduct of the people you help. If your focus is the money. I saw Rick Pitino at a conference one day, and he said a lot of great things, but he said, if you pursue money, it controls you. But if you pursue excellence, it follows you.
Say it
again. It's just such a fascinating point. If you pursue money, it controls you. If you pursue excellence, it follows you.
Yeah. Wow.
So you get good. You believe in what you do. You get good at what you do, and you believe in the value you offer, and you put your pursuit into that. The money shows up later.
Yeah.
Too many people look for that initial commission, and they want to get that customer to buy, and they might not be the right customer to buy. But that your focus is the money, not helping the customer. But help the customer and focus on helping that customer, which sounds cliche, but that's the value in it. Maybe you don't make as much money in the beginning, but then that customer tells somebody else, and they tell somebody else, and they tell somebody else. So it's that pursuit of excellence. And I always go back to the excellence. Prospecting is something you need to become excellent at, because that's how the market finds out about what you do.
Yeah. 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 I agree. And I think this is where, for me, I think it goes even deeper than that. It goes more so to like our conditioning for immediate gratification. If we touch on what we spoke about before, it's like we would cry and we get upset. And, for many of us, our parents, would give us a toy or give us a treat to keep us quiet, or give us a hug or a cuddle. And so, rightfully, wrongfully so, this has got absolutely nothing towards disrespecting parents at all. Like I've done it myself, but it does condition us for that immediate gratification.
Right. Yeah. And that's a big one. Yeah.
Then we're in business and it's like, yeah, sure, we go make our first sale and it feels great, but then the next sale doesn't come for a while.
Right.
And the next sale doesn't come for a while.
Right. And that's where that constantly churning the pipeline is the common phrase, but the pipeline only comes from talking to people and constantly filling the pipeline. And then, like I say, that law of detachment, I think, is so important that people understand. That's why they've got to get over their fear of talking to people and approaching people, because the better you get at that, the less you need anybody. And I don't care what words you use. It's just not going to resonate with people when they know they're going to think you're after a commission. And that's part of it, of course. Everybody knows that, but it's the primary thing. That's why the poor used car salesman has such a bad reputation. I don't care what you tell me. I know you're getting paid if you sell me this car.
Yeah.
And so It is fascinating. It is all between the ears, though, as you said. It's a perception, and I guess in some ways I'm trying to be a perception breaker of the prospecting game. That, you know, people go to these conferences and these things, and I'm going to get all my ducks in a row. I'm going to get everything perfect, and you're never going to pop all the popcorn. Doesn't happen.
Yeah,
you just got to get in there and start swinging. That's when you can talk to, that's when I, talk to Barry and oh, Barry, I've done this and I did this and this happened. Well, you can help that person.
Yeah.
But directions don't matter to a parked vehicle.
Yeah.
It's not the directions that's the problem. It's the fact that the vehicle's not moving.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so if we circle back then to where we started around, like how you help your clients, like you help them jump in the pool, you don't help them swim. When it comes to prospecting, I see that that's a big thing that holds a lot of, early stage businesses back, is that, they might be fantastic at the technician or doing the do, but they're not the best at putting themselves out there yet. We actually really need to be. That's one skill set I think that every business owner should have, is the ability to be able to market and sell themselves. I don't necessarily mean...
Barry, that's a huge point. That is a huge point. And I'll tell you why, because what happens is we think we can hire somebody to do that for us.
That's right.
But then that person is communicating from a point of commission, not a point of belief in the product.
Absolutely.
That's a huge point. That's a huge point, that you got to do some of this by yourself. And then, maybe you pick the right person that has that passion that can be an extension of you. But that is such an important point that you made, because that is not the solution. That's actually a waste of overhead that gives you more pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, as I said, I don't mean someone needs to be able to build their own funnel and write their own Facebook ads, but they need to be able to articulate clearly what their product or service or offer is to somebody, what problems they solve, and have a sales conversation, which is, like I think we touched on this at the start. I honestly believe that the reason that I have been so successful when I was doing sales for my company is because I absolutely fully believed in what our product and service was. And I've always believed that I could sell anything that I believed in, because if you believe in something, you shouldn't have to sell someone to convince them. You might get a bit noisy.
Right. Well, there's a
downpour here.
There's I'm sorry.
I just said it might get a bit noisy here shortly. It's just started to pour down in rain. So just in case you hear that.
Oh, okay. There's this is another one of the stories. Let's just tell you a quick perception buster, if you will, that really taps into what you just said. And usually what I try to do, I take those principles, I try to relate them to very simple stories. And so let's say, we obviously don't, but let's say I live down the street from you, Barry, and I'm driving by your house, and you're on your driveway, and you're kicking your car. You got 2 flat tires. You're miserable. I can tell you're frustrated. And I drive by, and I live about 15 houses down. And I pull into my driveway, and I'm walking into my house, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a spare tire in the garage that I'm not using. So I make a determination that I'm going to prospect you. In other words, I'm going to call you, or I'm going to walk over, I'm going to go, hey, Barry, I got a spare tire. So the question I ask everybody, when you make that call or you walk over, are you nervous? Well, no. Why?
No.
Because you're offering somebody something of value. I don't need a script for that, right? No. It's an internal belief I have. And this is why I tell you have to immerse yourself in the value and your belief. Because when you do that, you don't need a set of words. I'm not saying some words can't help, especially if you're new. But the point is, if I believe I'm offering value, if 99 people are wrong and one person's right, how many people are right? Just one. And that's got to be your mentality when you talk to people. Now, if you don't believe in what you're selling, then you shouldn't be selling it. And some of this is an evolution. You have to develop that. Maybe you have to develop that in the beginning. But at the end of the day, you're going to be one miserable person if you're selling something you don't belong in. You don't believe in, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the world's going to reflect that. I honestly believe that our environment reflects our innermost dominating thoughts. So if we're being incongruent with that, well, that's what we're gonna see.
Right. Right. It's all, and again, as you aptly put it in the beginning, it's all perception. It's all between our ears, and that's not bad news. That's good news because we get to control what happens between our ears, the environment we're in, the people we listen to, the books we read, the videos we watch on YouTube, the podcasts we listen to. You know, every little nugget you put in knocks out a nugget of doubt, and that's so important. And that has to happen over time. That doesn't happen overnight. You don't snap your fingers. But the people you listen to, they put belief in. So failure is not the variable. Everybody's going to fail. The variable is how you react to it. And how you react to it is a direct reflection of who you're listening to at that point.
Yeah.
If they're listening to Barry, they're saying, okay, I learned from this and get better. If they're listening to the person telling them, just say these words, I fail and I go do something else. And I leave my dreams on the table.
Yeah.
It's the failure is not the variable. It's a given.
Yeah, I remember I used to get mentored by a billionaire who owned a lot of car dealerships. And one thing that he said to me along those lines is he said the goal should never be the variable. The variable is the willingness to achieve the goal. You know, the energy, the effort, the belief, everything you put in to achieve the goal.
Right.
You know, the moment you make the goal the variable, you fail before you even start. So, you know, if you look back, Gary, you know, if you were having a conversation right now with the 10-year-old version of yourself, what advice would you give them based on what you know?
Oh, boy, that would be a really easy one for me because I was the shyest kid on planet Earth. And I don't know why it was, but I was so afraid to fail. And just almost that one expression would be failure is an event, not a person. I grew up thinking I was a failure. I didn't do well in school. And I accepted the mantra. People would ask me, what are you going to do when you grow up? I had no idea. I got laughed at. And then I just said accounting. I went and got an accounting degree. I still can't balance my finance. I mean, it's horrible. That wasn't my strength, but I wasn't given that opportunity until I started reading books and listening to, you know, CDs and tapes and things like that. I started listening to these bright minds. And I guess if I would summarize it though, I would make sure the people you're listening to have the type of life and lifestyle that you eventually want to aspire to be. You know, maybe 10 years old's too early for that. But, you know, my point is basically just don't let others, you know, determine what you can and cannot do. That's really hard when you're 10 years old because you want to fit in and all these things. And I think that would be my advice, because if somebody would have stuck that nugget in my ear, and I can tell you real quick, I was in the 6th grade and I was getting my spelling test back. It was a long time ago, and I can remember where I was sitting, the clothes I was wearing. I could hear the light in the room. I was like nervously rubbing my calf because my legs were crossed because I was getting my spelling test back. Yeah. And I knew I did terrible on it. And he handed it back to me with an F+ on it. His name was Mr. Pickard. And what he said to me changed my life. He said, look, you can do better than this, but at some point you're going to find something you really enjoy and you're going to do great things. You're going to do great, I'm paraphrasing, but you're going to do great things with your life. I mean, this is a total failure, just fed into the narrative that I was living in. Now that didn't happen to me till later in life, but the fact that I remember that teacher got it. And so that was the person I needed to be listening to. And you got to be very careful that the people they don't knock you down for failure. They encourage you through it. And I've never forgotten Mr. Pickard. It's a long time ago, but that's a story I even tell from stage. You know, you don't know, your little piece of advice to a person who just failed could change their life.
Yeah. Look, wise advice, and I think not even just to the 10-year-old version of you, that's something that a lot of people I see carry even at this point in time. So wise words there, Gary. For people that might want to reach out to you, feel drawn to connect with you some more, how's the easiest way they can do that?
Yeah, they can. My website's Prior to Prospecting. That's the word prior, T-O, prospecting.com. And there's some, my introduction to my course, which is an online course, is right there, where I really kind of kind of doing a quick nutshell, the 4 or 5 minutes, my concept. But that's where they can reach me via email and phone call.
Fantastic. Well, mate, I've really, really enjoyed having you on the episode today, and I'm sure that for everyone watching and listening, they would have received a lot of value from that. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure, Barry. I appreciate you reaching out.
No worries. Have a fantastic day, Gary.
You too. Thank you.
If you're in a position that many of our clients were before joining us, which is that your business is controlling you rather than you controlling your business, we would love to have a chat to you to see whether or not we might be the right fit to partner with you to help you grow and succeed in business. And over the past 8 years, we've helped hundreds of business owners around the world to grow, scale, and succeed in business. Many of our clients report we've helped them to triple their profits and double their time off in 12 months or less. If you jump onto YouTube and notice the hundreds of testimonies, you'd see that this is a common theme amongst them. If you're a business owner that's generating more than $300,000 a year in annual revenue, whether it's $500 million, $5 million, even $10 million a year, and you're looking to take your business and your life to the next level, we might be able to help. If you're noticing that your business is lacking structure, maybe systems or processes, maybe you're not quite attracting enough or the right type of quality leads, making enough sales, or maybe you're even having issues finding, hiring, retaining, and training the right team members, we could be a fit for you. Ultimately, we believe that we never have business problems, we have personal problems that are expressed through our business. And a lot of the work we do is with you as a business owner, helping you to constantly upgrade the way that you see life, the way that you make decisions, and the way that you help construct a profitable and purpose-driven business. In order for us to do that though, you need to book in a quick 15-minute application call with one of our scaling specialists here at the Game Changers. Through that 15-minute call, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions to see if or how we might better help you. If we can't help you, we'll let you know politely and do our best to point in the direction of someone that can. However, if we can help you, we'll look at booking you a 1-hour game plan session where we're going to dive a lot deeper into where you and your business are at right now, where it is that you want to go in the next 3, 5, and 10 years' time, and what are the potential roadblocks or challenges or even opportunities that are along the journey in order for you to get there faster. If you're really feeling that it's time for you to experience the love and the joy of running a business again, if you're really wanting to experience a business that does actually operate without you while still producing profit, we may very well be the right fit. So book in a 15-minute call, we can have a chat and see where we go from there. My name is Barry, and thanks for listening. Hopefully we get a chance to talk soon.